The movie opens with our protagonist, Max, who's listening to the news about an impending storm. In a flashback, we see a young Max growing up with foster parents and siblings. The family is seen celebrating as one of the siblings, Luke, prepares to leave for college. This news deeply upsets young Max, as the two are extremely close, but Luke assures him that he will visit during the holidays and that their bond is thicker than blood. The scene returns to the present, where Max has just finished painting graffiti after breaking into someone else's property, prompting the cops to arrest him. In another flashback, we see young Max arriving at his parents' room one night, only to find them crying. It turns out Luke has ended his own life, as he was having some problems in college. Poor Max is shattered by the news and left with a scar that will haunt him forever. In the present, he is detained at the station when he's visited by his dad. The man is clearly disappointed in him, and we learn that Max has been acting out like this ever since Luke's death. However, his dad seems loving and tells him that he has spoken with the judge, and fortunately there will be no jail time. Max has instead been assigned 4 months of community service at a retirement home where he'll work as the new superintendent. At first, Max is annoyed at the thought of working with old people, but he soon realizes it's far better than spending time behind bars. Later, Max heads to the retirement home, which is located in an isolated place far from the city. Upon his arrival, he meets 2 workers, Les and Juno, who explain his cleaning duties at the facility. Juno then hands him a master key that opens most of the doors, but forbids him from going to the 4th floor, where the patients require special care and it's strictly prohibited. Without wasting any time, Max gathers the cleaning supplies and begins his work. He heads to the swimming pool, where he encounters an old woman named Norma, who seems kind. She looks at him with affection and says he reminds her of someone she once knew. That night, while Max is sleeping, he hears faint noises, and suddenly someone screams his name, which jolts him awake. Moments later, another loud scream echoes from the upper floor that sends chills down his spine. Max then notices his door is slightly open, so he quickly shuts it. The next morning, Max is awakened by a frantic knock on his door, and it turns out to be an old man named Lou, accompanied by another resident. They inform him that one of the residents has had an accident and left a huge mess, so Max must quickly help clean up. But when they arrive at a room, Max is instead greeted by all the elders, who have thrown a surprise party for him. They warmly welcome him to the retirement home and introduce themselves one by one. At the party, Max is approached by a man named Sabian, who turns out to be the doctor of the facility. He tells Max that these elderly residents are good people who deserve comfort in their twilight years. Here, Sabian suddenly compliments his eyes, saying they are strikingly large and beautiful, making Max slightly uneasy. That night, he wakes from a nightmare and steps outside, only to hear piercing screams echoing from the upper floor. He is then startled by Norma, who asks what he's doing out so late, and Max explains he couldn't sleep, so the old woman invites him into her room for a conversation. Afterward, Max notices a trinket in her room and remarks that it looks familiar, so Norma explains that it belonged. Max notices a trinket in Norma's room, and she explains that it belonged to her friend who passed away years ago and loved collecting such items. He then spots a half-torn painting, and Norma reveals that it was made by her son. They once had an argument during which he ripped the painting, and heartbreakingly, he too passed away some time ago. She admits this is why she can't sleep at night, and Max, feeling connected, shares that he is going through something similar. The next day, while cleaning the 3rd floor, Max again hears screams from upstairs which deeply worry him. He finally decides to investigate and heads to the forbidden fourth floor where most of the doors are locked. Eventually, he finds one room open, and upon entering, he is horrified to see elderly people in wheelchairs with terrifying conditions, overgrown filthy nails, decaying skin, and blood seeping from their eyes. Suddenly, one old man points at Max and slowly rises, letting out a blood-curdling scream. Max tries to calm him down, but the man lunges aggressively toward him. Before any harm can be done, Juno and Les rush in to restrain the old man and urgently order Max to leave. Later, Dr. Sabian confronts Max, expressing deep disappointment in his actions. He reminds Max that this place is his chance at a fresh start and warns him not to ruin it with reckless behavior. Max apologizes sincerely and promises not to repeat the mistake. That evening, Norma approaches him and says she heard he went to the fourth floor. Max admits something feels terribly wrong with the people up there, but Norma reassures him, saying, "A heart knows a heart," explaining that he feels those emotions because he has a sensitive soul. She warns him that nothing can be done for those elders and advises him to stay away. The next morning, Max notices Norma arguing with Sabian and Les before storming off, which he finds suspicious. Later, he visits her room, where she is getting ready for a party. Max gives her a half-torn drawing he made, hoping she can use it to complete the painting left by her son. The gesture deeply touches her, but she suddenly warns him that something is terribly wrong with the place and that he must leave. Before she can explain more, she notices someone watching and rushes back to her room. Confused, Max tries to find her again, but Juno says Norma is at the infirmary because she wasn't feeling well. The next morning, while Max is cleaning the yard, he glances up at the fourth floor and sees the same old man who attacked him, this time violently biting his own finger. The man uses his blood to write something on the window. Before Max can process this, the situation turns horrifying. Norma suddenly falls from the upper floor and is killed instantly upon landing on a fence, leaving Max frozen in shock. Authorities soon arrive, and Sabian gives them Norma's last letter, claiming she wished to join her deceased son. Distraught, Max refuses to believe it. After the funeral, he approaches Lou, who is grieving as well, and asks if he really believes she would take her own life. Lou says he doesn't know, prompting Max to reveal what Norma told him before she died. Upon hearing it, Lou freezes in shock and starts convulsing in a strange seizure, but Max manages to snap him out of it. The next day, Max searches Norma's room for clues, but is confronted by Les, who threatens to call the cops for violating the rules. Max explains he only came to find something of hers as a memento, but an enraged Les says all her belongings have already been sent to burn in the basement. He gives Max a final warning, forcing the young man to apologize and leave. Later, Max once again breaks the rules and heads to the basement, where he searches through Norma's things. He finds the half-finished painting, the trinket, and her personal diary. In the diary, Norma wrote about Max's encounter on the fourth floor and warned that he must be protected from the danger. She described how people come at night with needles and a dog to change the elders, and she feared the next victim might be her or Lou. Reading all this terrifies Max, so that night he searches Dr. Sabian's background online. He learns that Sabian was once a celebrated scientist who studied psychosis in patients over 75, but was shunned after a controversial eye therapy experiment. As Max tries to dig further, strange messages pop up on his laptop repeatedly saying, "Have you seen the light?" Clicking on one leads him to a chat link. When he accepts, a software downloads automatically and connects to a webcam, revealing a live stream of a woman with a distorted face. Before she can speak clearly, the connection abruptly cuts. The next day, Max receives a package he ordered, several spy cameras. Suddenly, the distorted woman appears again on his laptop and warns him someone is coming, right before a loud knock on the door. Max opens it nervously, but it's only Juno, who asks him to be downstairs in 5 minutes. After she leaves, Max asks the distorted woman how she knew someone was coming. She reveals she has been watching him and that she was the one who placed the UV light on his door. Confused, Max asks what's happening, but she claims she can't reveal too much, as monitoring agents get suspicious if she is gone for too long.
She warns him that they killed Norma for knowing too much and will kill him as well before the line disconnects again. That afternoon, Max pretends to clean while secretly setting up spy cameras around the facility. At night, he monitors the footage but sees nothing suspicious before drifting off to sleep. However, he is soon awakened by a noise and sees Juno, Dr. Sabian, and Les escorting a woman to the basement, accompanied by a hooded figure and a dog. Realizing something terrible is happening, Max follows them. Upon reaching the basement, he hears horrifying screams and cries from a room. Unfortunately, the hooded man and the dog notice him, forcing Max to flee upstairs. When he returns later, he is stunned to see the woman from the live stream. She reveals shocking information. The government funds this facility for research, testing, experimental drugs, and controversial gene trials. Facilities like this exist all across the country, experimenting on thousands of elderly people. Her father is one of the victims, and she urges Max to gather evidence so they can expose the criminals running the facility. She says she can't stay long, but as she rushes to leave, the aggressive old man from the 4th floor appears and lunges at her, knocking Max out in the process. Later, Dr. Sabian takes the injured Max to an operating room, where he suddenly pulls out Max's teeth, causing unbearable pain and triggering disturbing visions. When Max wakes up the next morning, Juno is in the room and tells him that the patient from the 4th floor got loose and tried to hurt him. She says Sabian wants to run a full examination and leaves briefly to call the doctor. Seizing the opportunity, Max climbs out through the window and escapes from the retirement home. He runs to the nearest gas station and calls his parents, who soon arrive to take him home. Upon reaching the house, they introduce him to his new foster sisters, Tessa and Jackie. After sleeping for a long time, Max wakes up to find his mother sitting beside him. When he thanks her for caring for him, she replies, "A heart knows a heart," shocking Max, who remembers Norma saying the same phrase. His mother explains she once heard it from an old friend, but can't recall who. She also mentions that she and his father are going to meet the judge to help resolve Max's situation, since he could face punishment for fleeing community service. Once his parents leave, Max shows the girls a photo of Norma and asks if they've seen her, but they deny knowing her. Max searches the house desperately for any clue, but finds nothing. Feeling defeated, he goes to his room where the girls approach him and suddenly ask if he has found the secret place. Max is confused, so Tessa points to the trinket he brought home and says they found the exact same one in the secret place, so they assumed he had been there too. They then lead him to a wardrobe that reveals a hidden passage to a secret room filled with trinkets identical to Norma's collection. In the center stands an altar with a statue labeled Dea, Roman goddess of youth. The girls show him several photo albums, and when Max opens the one from 1997, he sees pictures of elderly residents partying alongside his parents, but everyone looks exactly the same as they do today. In the 2000 album, he finds a group photo with a young woman in a white dress sitting in a wheelchair. As he flips through more albums, he notices that the young person in the wheelchair keeps changing. His heart drops when he reaches the 2009 album and sees his brother Luke in the wheelchair. Overwhelmed, he rips the picture out and runs out of the house. Later, Max returns to the retirement home and breaks into the 4th floor. He approaches the aggressive patient, who shockingly turns out to be Luke, trying desperately to communicate with him. Max emotionally tells him how much he missed him and shows his tattoo that reads "thicker than blood," which brings tears to Luke's eyes. After their emotional reunion, Max asks for his help so they can escape the facility. He then shows Luke the photo and asks who. Max stands frozen as Luke quietly gestures toward the other patients in the room, like he's revealing the final piece of a disturbing puzzle. Max's mind spins, but before he can react, everything fades into darkness. a celebration of deception. Sometime later, Max slowly regains consciousness. The moment his vision clears, he's shocked to see himself sitting in a wheelchair, dressed in a bright white suit. Around him, a festive party is in full swing. Music, cheers, and camera flashes fill the room. The residents, his foster parents, and even the staff are celebrating as if they've achieved something extraordinary. They pose him for a group photo, smiling like they've won a grand prize. Lou steps forward, applauding everyone for their brilliant performance. Here, the mask finally drops. The disfigured woman Max had seen earlier is revealed to be Gretchen, Dr. Sabian's wife, and a loyal member of their ancient cult. Nothing Max experienced was real. It was all an act, a twisted psychological game designed to break him and drain every drop of his life essence. The cult elders cheer victoriously and begin chanting in the name of Dea, the so-called goddess of eternal youth.
The horrifying truth behind the nectar. The scene shifts to an operating room. Max, paralyzed with fear, finds himself strapped to a surgical bed. All the cult members surround him, staring with hungry anticipation. Dr. Sabian begins explaining the terrifying truth. There is a tiny sac behind the right eye, known as the nectar gland. According to him, this nectar is the pure essence of youth, and they have been secretly extracting it from Max every night. This honey is what keeps them youthful forever. Then comes the most disturbing revelation. Every single person in the facility, including his foster parents, is over 100 years old. Max's heart sinks. His whole life has been a lie. Without hesitation, Sabian forces Max's eye open and begins extracting the nectar, while the cult chants louder and louder, their voices becoming almost animalistic. The ritual continues until Max finally loses consciousness. The fourth floor of forgotten souls. When he awakens again, Max is horrified to find that he is no longer young. He has aged drastically, now frail, wrinkled, and bound to a wheelchair just like the others on the dreaded fourth floor. Lou casually explains that Norma, the girl who once showed sympathy toward Max, began to care for him. That's why she mysteriously left. She was removed for breaking the cult's rules. Lou laughs, adding that life as an old person is boring, so tormenting newcomers like Max is their only entertainment. After Lou leaves, Max witnesses something shocking. Luke, the so-called helper, is walking from person to person, kissing each elder on the forehead and drawing nectar out of their eyes. He then does the same to himself. Finally, he leans over Max, extracts nectar, and forces Max to drink it. Instantly, Max feels a surge of energy shooting through his body. His youth and strength return violently, right as a massive storm erupts outside the facility. Awakening the fury. When Juno enters the room, she is horrified to see the elders unconscious on the floor. Max is nowhere to be seen. Because Max has awakened with full strength and a thirst for vengeance. Armed with an axe, he begins rampaging through the retirement home, eliminating cult members one by one. Screams echo through the corridors. Panic spreads like wildfire. Lou, trembling with fear, hides inside a wardrobe, praying desperately to Dea to save him. But prayers won't help him now. Max finds Les first, and with a brutal swing of his axe, ends his life instantly. Then he hunts down Lou, drags him outside like a rag doll, right into the path of Dr. Sabian, who points a gun at Max and orders him to stop. Sabian fires repeatedly. Max uses Lou's body as a shield. Lou dies instantly. Max storms towards Sabian, twists his wrist until it snaps, and beats him savagely until the evil doctor collapses lifeless on the ground. Next is Gretchen, who receives no mercy. Max attacks her relentlessly, but before his foster parents can escape the chaos, the storm outside tears the roof off the building, sending it crashing onto them. They are crushed on the spot. Max finishes Gretchen with finality. "I'm taking everything back." He approaches Lou's corpse, grabs his face, forces open his eyelids, and growls, "I'm taking it all back." The storm dies down. The silence is chilling. The survivors walk free. In the final moments, Max steps out of the destroyed building with his brother. Behind them, the mistreated residents slowly follow. After drinking the nectar from the dead cult members, their strength has begun to return. Their steps are steady, their eyes clearer. For the first time in a century, they are finally free.